Greetings, minions. It is I, the Flaming Monocle, and I'm here with my good friend T-Dude.
So close and yet so
Far away across the sea, we go to places that only you and me could ever... Oh, hang on.
No, stop singing and look, there says Masters of Disguise.
Hannay's confident that he has the right place, but doubts begin to surface when he sees the target.
And why is that? Click, sir, click.
Clicking away. If you haven't watched up to this point, I suggest going back to episode 1 and watching all of the bits, because this is a riveting story.
Chapter number Masters of Disguise.
Bradgate in Kent, Monday the 15th of June 1914. A beautiful day, a golf course, and a seaside
flag.
A seaside resort.
Oh, that's pretty. Let's go there. Let's hope it's not some kind of...
Well, Kent is the Garden of England.
Is it?
It is.
Oh.
Indeed. A small boat. What's that in the far background there? Is that another boat? A steamer of some sort?
Looks like a lighthouse.
Oh, a Griffin Hotel. The Griffin was not pleased to see us.
Take it up to room 35.
It was still quite early in the morning, but...
Oh,
then again,
it's
cars
all right.
weren't particularly quick in those days.
Don't know, the lens flare's coming out from behind the cloud.
A pink and blue June morning found me at Bradgate looking from the Griffin Hotel over a smooth sea. The lightship on the Cock Sands seemed the size of a bellboy. Okay, this is...
He's drunk.
Stop. A couple of miles farther south and much nearer the shore, a small destroyer was anchored. Is this like just a list of things that I can use to describe something else?
I think I'm done at this hotel. Ooh.
Skyef had been in the Navy and knew the boat. He told me her name and her commanders, so I sent off a wire to Sir Walter. Collected small destroyer.
Where's he going to put that? His knapsack.
No.
Click on the other boat.
The lightship on the Cock Sands seems the size of a bellboy.
You've already said that.
Well, he's just said it again. I filled both of my diamonds up.
And my pants.
After breakfast, Skyef got from a house agent a key for the gates of the staircases on the Rough. I walked with him along the sands, and he sat down in a nook of the cliffs while he investigated the half-dozen of them. I sat down whilst he did all the work. I didn't want to be seen, but the place at this hour was quite deserted. And all the time I was on that bench, I saw nothing but the seagulls.
Having conversations.
Oh, look at the grit on that. It took him no more than an hour to do the job.
And...
Da-da-da-da. Everything depended on my guess proving right. He read aloud the number of steps in the different stairs.
1,
34,
2,
35, 42, 47,
He's doing the
and
thumbs
21,
up.
where the cliffs get lower. Oh, and 39. Scafe, we have them.
Skyef? Oh, and the last one. Sorry, I forgot about that. We'd hurried back to the town and sent a wire to McGillivray. I wanted half a dozen men, and I directed them to divide themselves among different specified hotels. Then Skyef set out to prospect the house at the head of the 39 steps.
All the while, I was thinking how quicker it would have been to tell Skyef that 39 steps was what we needed, not to go around continually counting them all.
He came back with news that both puzzled and reassured me. Scaife's report. The house. The house was called Trafalgar Lodge and belonged to an old gentleman called Appleton, a retired stockbroker, the house agent said. Only 3 servants were kept, a cook, a parlour-maid, and a housemaid.
Oh, only 3?
The cook was not the gossiping kind, and had pretty soon shut the door in his face, but Scaif said he was positive she knew nothing. The occupants. They were just the sort you would find in a respectable middle-class household. Mr. Appleton was there in good deal with the summertime, and was in residence now, and had been for the better part of a week. Scaif could pick up very little information about him, except that he was a decent old fellow who paid his bills regularly, and was always good for a fiver for a local charity. Next door there was a new house building which would give good cover for observation, and the villa on the other side was to let, and its garden was rough and shrubby. Shrubby!
Should arrange a viewing.
Sounds a good place to live. I borrowed Scaife's telescope and before lunch went for a walk along the rough.
He found a diamond in the rough.
And he found himself penalised 2 strokes in his game of golf. I kept well behind the rows of villas and found a good observation point on the edge of the golf course.
I started digging a grave.
Pretending to look for a lost ball.
Which I probably had.
39 steps. Gosh, it's like the name of the game or something. It's like a mouth.
Speak, friend, and enter.
Friend, enter.
I press return instead.
I observed someone leave the house and saunter along the cliff. I saw it was an old man wearing white flannel trousers, a blue serge jacket, and a straw hat. He carried field glasses and a newspaper. He sat down on one of the iron seats and began to read aloud. Sometimes he would lay down the paper and turn his glasses on the sea. He looked for a long time at the destroyer. I watched the elderly man for half an hour, till he got up and went back to the house for his luncheon, when I returned to the hotel for mine. Everything stops for tea.
Yeah, evidently. Can you take a sandwich with him?
This decent commonplace dwelling was not what I had expected. The man might be the bald archaeologist of that horrible moorland farm, or he might not. He was exactly the kind of satisfied old bird you'd find in every suburb and every holiday place. If you wanted a type of the perfectly harmless person, you would probably pitch on that.
Oh, I hope Hannay dies.
What?
He's not taking this seriously.
After lunch I perked up, for I saw the thing that I'd hoped for, and had dreaded to miss.
EastEnders.
Dun,
Dum
dun,
dum
dum. What? Oh, it got painted?
Ariadne.
Her name was the Ariadne. Scaife said she was the fast boat for her build, and that she was pretty heavily engineered.
Seems that way.
Indeed, like a proper cutter thing, slicey, dicey thingy. Scaife and I went down to the harbour and hired a boatman for the afternoon's fishing. Clipper, that's what I meant to say.
Yes.
About 4 o'clock I made the boatman row us around the yacht, which lay like a delicate white bird, ready at a moment to flee. Very obvious. One of the men was polishing the brasswork. I spoke to him and got an answer in the soft dialect of Essex. Another hand that came along past me, time of day in an unmistakable English tongue. Our boatman had an argument with one of them about the weather, and for a few minutes we lay on our oars close to the starboard bow. Then the men suddenly disregarded us and bent their heads to their work as an officer came along the deck.
Hello.
He was a pleasant, clean-looking young fellow, and he put a question to us about our fishing in very good English.
Do you fish here?
But there could be no doubt about him. Was he Blackstone? His close-cropped head and the cut of his collar and tie never came out of England. Awarded I know Germans.
I retract the French sound.
In the hotel I met the commander of the destroyer, to whom Scaife introduced me, and with whom I had a few words. Then I thought I would put in an hour or two watching Trafalgar Lodge.
The hot new sitcom on
I was
BBC
literally
3.
about to say something like that. Trafalgar.
This place
Everybody
is
likes
dead.
Trafalgar. Tennis.
Anyone for tennis?
They played with tremendous zest, like two city gents who wanted hard exercise to open their pores. They shouted and laughed and stopped for drinks when a maid brought 2 tankards out on a salver.
Wow.
Impostors? You couldn't conceive a more innocent spectacle. I rubbed my eyes and asked myself if I was not the most immortal fool on earth. Mystery and darkness had hung about the men who hunted me over the Scotch moor in aeroplane and motor car, and notably about the infernal antiquarian. It was easy enough to connect those folk with the knife that pinned Scudder to the floor, and with fell designs on the world's peace. But here were two guileless citizens taking their innocuous exercise, and soon about to go indoors for a humdrum dinner, where they would talk of market prices and the last cricket scores.
Yeah, I've got them pegged.
The thing that worried me was the reflection that my enemies knew that I had got my knowledge from Scudder, and it was Scudder who had given me the clue to this place. If they knew that Scudder had this clue, would they not be certain to change their plans? I had talked confidently last night about Germans always sticking to a scheme, but if they had any suspicions that I was on the track, they would be fools not to cover it. Okay.
Oh.
It's hotting up, is it not? I'll have to take a sip of coffee. I had been making a net to catch vultures and falcons, and lo and behold, two plump thrushes had blundered into it. Presently a third figure arrived, a young man on a bicycle. He was welcomed riotously by the players.
Oh, hello! I mean...
They're having a riot. Where do we want our
Right
visitor?
there,
Now.
Percy?
Yes, you're looking a little hot under the collar.
I've got into a proper lather. This'll bring down my weight and my handicap, Bob. I'll take you on tomorrow and give you a stroke a hole.
What?
And the men evaporated.
They all went into the house and left me feeling a precious idiot. I would rather have walked into a den of anarchists, each with his Browning handy or facing a charging lion with a pop gun, than enter that happy home of three cheerful Englishmen and tell them that their game was up.
You could try it. I mean, you've been stupid.
But then I remembered old Peter Pioneer.
Isn't he Spider-Man?
Peter Pioneer? He's the French Spider-Man. He was the best scout I ever knew, and before he had turned respectable, he had been pretty often on the witness side of the law.
That might smell.
Peter once discussed with me the question of disguises, and he had a theory which struck me at the time. He said, barring absolute certainties like fingerprints, mere physical traits were very little use for identification if the fugitive really knew his business. The only thing that mattered was what Peter called atmosphere. Ammosphere. Is that like a proper guns and ammo place in the States? Welcome to Ammosphere.
It's got a good atmosphere.
Those chaps did not need to act. They just turned a handle and passed into another life, which came as naturally to them as the first.
It's not
Peter used to say that it was a big secret of all the famous criminals. This reconnection gave me the first real comfort I'd had that day. Peter had been a wise old bird, and these fellows I was after were about the pick of the Avery. Gosh, you French people and your crazy accents.
That was self-imposed.
Indeed. It was now getting on for 8 o'clock, and I went back and saw Scaife to give him his instructions. I arranged with him on how to place his men, and then I went for a walk, for I didn't feel up to any dinner.
I don't feel up.
What?
Wow. Not even some scotch?
A quick milk and brandy, perhaps. It took all my resolution to stroll towards Trafalgar Lodge. On the way, I got a piece of solid comfort from the sight of a greyhound that was swinging along at a nursemaid's heels. He reminded me of a dog I used to have in Rhodesia.
But there were...
The Ridgeback.
New event.
Oh no! It's the end of the episode, which means the last one's the final one! Dun dun dun!
What are we going to do?
We're gonna have to wait until next time, G-Dude!
Oh no!
Join us then, if you will, to see the final outcome of the 39 steps.
The horror.
The sheer blind terror. See you then, I suppose.
Bye.
Bye.